Hey, how are you guys? Give me just a minute. We're going to let everything sync up and then we'll begin. Almost there. Hey. Okay, I see the stream up. We're waiting on some of you to show up. When the doors are open, I'll begin in just 1 second. Yay, I see that it's up. Got it online, not mobile yet. Still waiting on mobile. We see that it's online. My dutiful helper Cheryl shows it. I see 15 people watching. That is awesome. And they're piling in. Feel free to use the chat. Say hello. Let us know where you're from. I'm in Houston, Texas today. Where are you? I was worried. It was looking cloudy a little while ago, and they're doing construction on the mid-rise, fairly tall building I live in, and it was going to be noisy for you. Fingers crossed it stays quiet for the next few minutes. Here we go. Hi, Laura. Hey, Marco, Margarita, Jacqueline, Tammy, Ratchet. Hope I'm saying that right, sir. Janice, this is great. All right, let's get started. So, welcome to yet another live stream, rant, talk, call it what you want with Dr. D. I hope you're well. I'm having a lot of fun this week. I'll tell you a little something. I just finished writing story 18 of 20 planned stories or chapters in the next book. Now, you might remember the one that kind of put me on the map was called Show Your Ink. And that's memorable. People love it. It sold a lot, got me some gigs, a lot of interviews. I love that book. I'm going to do an updated version of it, of course, soon. Having said that, the second one, man, I've got 18 out of 20 rants, essays, or stories kind of done. You might have already read somewhere. That's called Live Hard. I'm down to 2 words now. Very excited. I think you'll find the material. It's about living fully and embracing principled risks and growing and stretching and creativity and innovation. I think you're going to dig that. I'll tell you a secret. I actually haven't said this publicly, so you're going to hear this for the first time. I've already decided, based on the ideas that I have piling up, that there will be at least one more storybook. I call it storybook. Stories, essays, rants, where each chapter is a different theme around a major theme. The third is going down to 1 word. That's right. So it went from Show Your Ink at 3 to Live Hard, which will be out shortly. Down to 1 word for that book. Now, it's not the next book. I've got some other books planned first, but I'm going to get to this book probably within a couple of years. 1 word, matter. The book is about what does it mean to matter in life? What does that mean? I think it means, well, at least 20 interesting things, and I can't wait to write about them and tell you about them. Good to see you. Francisco, Reg, Sua, hi. Chandra, Kenny, what's happening? Jeffrey. We got North Carolina. We got New York City. We have Peru. Huntsville, Texas. How are you, sir? Good to see you. India. Hi. New York City. What is happening? It's so fun. I don't know exactly how the virus is playing out where you are. I just hope that you're safe and becoming productive. Life in the States, life in Texas, life in Houston is opening back up. And I can tell you it's a beautiful thing and it's very scary at the same time. And we're not sure just yet, but we are expecting some sort of second wave and third wave. I got my fingers crossed. I'm not going out too much. I got to tell you, other than exercise and groceries, I'm staying put. So let's switch gears and talk about something for this week's stream, shall we? I talk a lot about authenticity. It's one of my favorite topics because I don't think most people live openly enough. I don't think most relationships pass what I think of as a relationship test where there's real things said and comfort within the exchange. That always bothers me. And so I've been preaching and teaching about authenticity for years. Weird things, good things have happened as I've done that around planet Earth. I've met so many people who go, yeah, you're right. I got this quote. A lot of people love it. I talk about how most people live repressed lives or kind of trapped in cages. And I encourage you to open the door and run. So people come up to me after gigs all the time for the last, well, many years, and they want to tell me, their stories. First, don't laugh, but it's true. First, they start by saying, you know what, I really want to show you my ink. And that can be fun and strange. I have seen some interesting ink. I have seen blouses pulled down. I have seen skirts yanked high. I have seen this happen in front of my wife, believe it or not. I've seen some awesome things. I remember some stories that would just rock you to your core and make you happy and make you cry because people get it and they want to live it as well, meaning authentically. I remember the man who came to me and told me, let me tell you, my version of Show Your Ink. It's about the time that I lost one of my testicles to cancer. And he said to me with a straight face and conviction, it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. It's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. He said his version of, you know what, you don't truly appreciate life until you're faced with death. I don't want for me or any of you to be faced with such a difficult situation. Of course not. But man, does it make a great point about what it means to choose a positive perspective. I remember him very well. I remember several people who came to me and said this, can't make this up, folks. Don't forget, you and I live every day lost in our own beliefs, our own tasks that we're working on. And we usually surround ourselves with people who are more like us than dislike us, unlike us, I should say, right? So we're not usually thinking about the fact that humans are very diverse. There are so many views and opinions out there. It's unbelievable. Here's one of them. There is a very large segment of people. This will sound strange to the progressives listening to me, to the young people listening, but listen, there's a very large number of people around the world, not just in the States, who do not like tattoos. They think that is an abomination. They don't get it. They think it's excessive, if not wrong. And as a result, they have strained relationships with their children. I can't make this up. I've heard from so many people electronically and so many people in person after gigs. I can't tell you. Sometimes it's women. Usually it's actually men in my experience. I can't tell you how many times a man has come up to me, pulled me aside, and basically said some version of, you know what? I was skeptical because of your brand, because of Show Your Ink, because of your arms, etc. I was kind of skeptical, and that was great. Man, that was simple. That was obvious. I can't believe it was so obvious. How long should I have been getting over this issue? Because my son, and then they tell me about a son who's gotten a tattoo that they didn't approve of, they didn't know about, they don't like, that they ranted about to tell them, hey, you're going to ruin your career, etc., etc. And this has actually happened, I'm not making this up, with tears a couple times. They say, hey, thank you. Excuse me. They say, hey, thank you. I need to go talk to them. And then they walk away from me pulling out their phone to call them because they want to tell their kid how they have a new perspective. They've gotten over it and they kind of want to make up. It sounds hard to believe, but we are so interestingly diverse that sometimes that actually happens. Probably the most amazing one I've ever seen are the women who have come to me to tell me about their cancer survivor stories. And they do that because I talk about authenticity and Show Your Ink. Is it possible to swallow water incorrectly? Yeah. I talk about authenticity and Show Your Ink. And they also hear me talk about my parents, both of whom had to go through interesting journeys with cancer before the cancer, unfortunately, got them. And so they feel emboldened to share their story with me, which I love. It makes me a more informed person. It makes me a better person. And it's touching. It's humbling. More than once, I've had a lady do this or do this to show me the cool tattoo. It's usually roses or flowers, I've found, but I have seen a few others that now cover the area where, unfortunately, they had their breasts removed because of cancer. And it is humbling and interesting because you might think it's a heavy moment. It's actually not. It's usually an uplifting moment where they can't wait to say, I'm not done. I'm now new and improved. Watch me go. Thanks for talking about it, encouraging me to talk about it. I'm loving living this authentic life. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. One interesting thing has also happened as I've been kind of a Pied Piper for authenticity around planet Earth. Quick break. Omar, how you doing? Hey, John. James, what's happening? We got Dayton, Ohio. What's up, James? I miss that place. I spent 10 fun years in Dayton. Hey, John, good to see you. So one of the more common things that people have said to me, it's a minority of the comments, but nonetheless, it's been consistent for a good decade now. I think you should have written about show your scars, which is the main focus of my short rant today. And their point, which I kind of talk about and have somewhat written about, the point is, let's take the difficult things that have hurt us the most and hopefully thus taught us the most, helped us grow the most, and let's not hide those. Let's just talk about them. So it's a supersized version of what I've done many, many times, which is to talk about mistakes. One of the core areas of this authenticity thing I've been on is for us to no longer laugh about imperfections, hide imperfections, or be dishonest about imperfections. No, you take the mistakes, you take the setbacks, you take the screw ups, you take the learning moments, you take the upset clients, the projects that didn't work, the promotion you didn't get, etc., etc. And you, with a little distance, with a little thoughtful introspection, hopefully with the support group in tow, you turn that into something that is educational and then motivational, a catalyst for you to flat out become better. Many people, not just me, many people have been preaching this because we need to hear it for a long time. The scars idea, it's even bigger. It's about more difficult versions of this. So I'm going to give you some examples, some exceptions, and tell you how maybe you can look at this and use this while also keeping you out of trouble. I'm going live right now through StreamYard onto LinkedIn, and I believe we're also live on Facebook. And I got to tell you, I know that people draw lines. Facebook, for example, personal, it's about life, whatever. I went swimming or I ate some corned beef or whatever you want to talk about. LinkedIn, professional. We got to draw a line, right? I intentionally blur them because I think that those lines are more problematic than they are useful, even if I admit we need them sometimes. So let's talk about this because it's relevant to your career. It's not just about your friendships. This is about your career. And I am speaking to any of you who aspire to be leaders or who are currently in leadership roles. Scars are the most difficult versions of those things I was mentioning a minute ago. For example, times you lost a loved one. Okay? Maybe you got kicked out of school. Who knows what you might have done? Maybe you got fired for cause. I did. I was fired for cause one time. I was slinging yogurt at a TCBY, 16 years old, got caught giving away product and got fired. And I deserved to be fired. Maybe you're a cancer survivor. There are big, difficult, challenging things we all face. Not too many of them rise to this level of maybe not just making a point in your brain, but leaving a scar. Some of them, I'm going to switch to talking about using them instead of avoiding them. Some of them are off limits because I want to be able to have you talk in a professional capacity about this. So what I'm doing is exploring the upper limits of authenticity that also do fit, again, upper limits, okay, but do fit a professional context, which means some are off limits. For example, I know that watching right now, based on mere statistics, there are abuse survivors. It's very rare, maybe it's not common at all, to ever bring up a topic with that much weight in a professional capacity. I hear you, and I want to validate you and tell you, by the way, that if you have incidents that led to scars that are of that variety, if you've not processed them correctly, looked at them, given them the time that is needed to really get past it, excuse me, to really get past them and begin to use them, then I got to encourage you real quick before I move on to go find the right assistance, whether that's a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a counselor, a mentor, or a close friend. When in doubt, go one level higher in level of expertise, because you know what? Sometimes you need an expert hand to walk through a thought and a conversation and a behavioral plan moving forward. That's a beautiful thing. I hope you'll do it. But let me tell you a couple of my scars that I've figured out how to use on occasion professionally to help you do exactly the same thing. Hey, James, you guys are good. We've already got some people from back in the day. Hey, Anna, how are you? Good to see you. Scott Crane, what's happening? Is that Scott Crane from my childhood? Good to see you, man. And Marie Maxey, you, high school. How are you, Ann? Great to see you. Kim Glass, hey, how are you? Put the pen down, my wife says. You see how that works when you get an expert helping you? Like I said a minute ago, it's amazing how much more clean your thinking becomes. All right, listen. Scars that I've gone through. Like I said, I've been fired. Yeah, that's no fun. I've had super big jobs I wanted that I didn't get. And I'm not sure if that goes to the level of scarring, but I want you to know that I screw up and fail to achieve every bit as much as I achieve. If you stand in front of a camera the way I do, everyone thinks you're just an achiever. It's not true. Most people who are where I am and anywhere above where I am, listen, they're there because they failed more than others, took the scars right here and looked at them and learned from them. Both of my parents growing up were alcoholics. Now, even the people from back in the day who apparently are watching today, it's great to have you guys here, may not know this if we were not very, very close. A couple close friends did know this, and I won't dwell on it except just for a minute. They were accomplished, skilled, problematic drinkers. I had both varieties that are very common. I had mom, who was the happy drunk. It was embarrassing if you knew her because there was impairment, right? There was walking, there was speech impairment, there was you shouldn't be driving, there wasn't deep thoughts, there was a happy bunch of smiling and laughing and silliness, which really becomes heavy. If you've been around this issue, you know what I'm talking about. Then there was my dad, and he was the classic bad example. He was lost in a bottle since I was born or earlier, and he was unpleasant, and he was loud, and he yelled, and he threw things. And because I got large fast, I was really a big kid young. I never experienced any kind of physical abuse of any kind. I'm grateful for that. I did, however, have plenty of ugliness and plenty of neglect. I felt like I raised myself since the age of 12, give or take. Now, I should say this before I move on. They both became better versions of themselves. I've talked about this on stage. I've written about this. They both became better versions of themselves at some point and gave themselves and me an ending chapter, if you will, that was radically better than it was in the early chapters. I'm grateful for that. Doesn't change the fact that I got plenty of scars. You know what's weird about this story when you talk about scars? We found this new place. Dad quit. He just completely quit drinking. He beat the odds. He went cold turkey. He did the 12-step program. He did everything right and never fell off the wagon. That's not normal, and it's a beautiful thing. And I found out he's bright and funny and all kinds of weird things. We became great friends. Mom did not quit. She started drinking like this instead of like this and made a real effort, and it made a difference. It made a difference. I don't want to say you don't have to quit if you have a problem. You probably should, but it made a difference. You put the two of them together, and then me getting older and mature, and we became friends in a productive, amazing way. And then the next scar happened because we found this miracle. And then they got cancer. First, my dad, a very rare cancer that usually attacks women. And it's an amazing story. In fact, it's one of my oldest stories that I use on stage and I've used in writing. If you follow me for long, you've probably heard some version of it. And I don't think I'll ever get rid of it because it's just great. I get to talk about him, but he was gone way too early. And then just a couple of years later, mom got throat cancer, no doubt from lots and lots of smoking. And she was gone very quickly. He fought for a while and he got her very quickly. I was not yet 40 and they're both gone. Now, I'm not crying. I'm telling you an example, and I want you to think about yours because those, and it might sound difficult to you, those are examples that can be useful, yes, in a professional context. The question is, how do you use them? When? How frequently? Not everyone loves authenticity. So when I talk about authenticity, I see questions I'm going to get to in just a little while. Awesome. If you have more questions, please write them down, and I'll do my best to get to them in just a moment. And if I don't, when I wrap up, I'll make sure to look at the video of what we're doing and get back to you on LinkedIn. So When to use those? Well, when I talk about authenticity, I have to admit, I don't like being honest sometimes, but I am. I got to tell you, the truth is not everyone wants authenticity. Not everyone wants to move past the imaginary line that we have all drawn about what professional looks like, and they don't want to hear about your real thoughts on much of anything except for work. Now, if you've been following me, you know this. The science and the common sense increasingly tells us that is not wise. What's more wise in terms of authenticity is to find that beautiful middle area. Over here is best friends. I'm not telling you to be best friends ever. That can be problematic in its own right. And then over here, you've got measured, distant, cold, purely professional relationships. That is the old common way of relating at work. And it too is a problem. Right in the middle is that beautiful sweet spot where you're human, more authentic, more positive, more real, but you're still trying to measure it correctly. Scars are a little more difficult to measure, which means in terms of frequency, the first thing I'm going to tell you is that it's not supposed to be common, because not everyone can take it. Now, that breaks my heart in some ways. I think we're all supposed to sit around. Don't get mad at me, okay? I think we're all supposed to sit around, hold hands once in a while, and sing Kumbaya. There, I said it. We're supposed to get a little more comfortable with emotion and with conversation. The best marriages and partnerships, the best teams at work, they love candor, and they find through experience and through humility, they find comfort with that reality that is a skill you can build. You've heard me say this many times. So the frequency isn't supposed to be common because you don't know who you're dealing with or how they're going to react, which is why the prescription I'll give you goes like this. Start with a little bit more safe authenticity and build a capacity to be more real with the folks you're dealing with at work or home, neighborhood, church, wherever it might be. Build that capacity. Now, a little more authenticity. That means talking personal, not just work. For example, what you did this weekend, the book that you read, the kids that were playing sports, the camping trip you took, et cetera, et cetera. These are steps forward towards personal, but they're not risky. They're not really risky. You do that. You watch the reaction. You encourage that from others. You get the reciprocity. You get the comfort. And then you can take a step further. And if you have a group of people, which will happen a lot of times, it depends on who you are and what group that you're dealing with, they then might be ready for another step. And if you want to get past the bullshit and really bond with people, some of those scars then maybe need to come out. I don't think you should do it on stage the way I do. If you're asked to speak at a conference, I think that you should do it in meetings and hallway conversations with groups and small groups that really do matter to you. And when it feels natural, you can tell them, like I just told you about my parents and some of their ugly behaviors, and how we became great friends and how it ended in an ugly way that we never saw coming, even though it was a great ending chapter. That's what I'm talking about. What's your version of that? What is your version of it? Was it a terrible medical incident that you overcame, whether they know about it or not? Was it a strained, irreparable relationship that bugs you with a sibling that maybe is relevant and can teach you and them something that you can talk about instead of hide? Maybe that's your scar. Maybe you had an addiction, which would, I have an addictive personality, and so far I have avoided complete train wrecks in life. I don't know, maybe I'm just lucky, but I got to tell you, why have one cupcake when you can have three? I mean, one drink instead of four. Addictive personality. Why not? Why talk? Why just talk when you can talk fast, out loud, live to a whole bunch of people? Addictive personality. But I've avoided the train wrecks and become pretty productive. I'm grateful for that. What about you? What about you? If you ever fell into a difficult spot, listen carefully. Listen carefully. That makes you normal. That makes you normal. You often get lost obsessing on the fact that you're not normal. That makes you normal. Get that in your head. Start to think about what you can learn from the situation instead of spending precious, limited, finite energy hiding that situation, because I'll bet you that there are 2 to 3 things that you can use to grow. And when you feel that you have really done that, man, are you now positioned to help others do exactly the same? I actually like to say it this way. If you're going to accept the title and the pay to step up into leadership roles and take that promotion, let alone more and more promotions into executive roles, I think you have an obligation to be a teacher, not just a facilitator of tasks. Now, not everyone agrees with me. and that's fine. But I believe that's true. How can you model useful life lessons that help them beyond the scope of the job description? That is a useful, kind of purposeful, motivating view of leadership. Whereas most people, unfortunately, like to say, well, I'm a professional, which means I've got to help them with goals and the tasks that help them get there, and that's kind of all I'm responsible for. I think that is a really low bar. So I want you to think about scars, not just authenticity, the infrequent places you maybe should bring it up, maybe even rehearse. I would encourage you in terms of homework to start by writing. I don't care if you like writing or not. It forces you to think about the structure of your feelings and thoughts and the possible structure of behaviors. That's why it's useful. Do it alone. What are the top 2 or 3 scars? Which one, simple homework, you ready? Which one is good enough but not too scary that you could find the 1, 2, 3 times per year to bring out? How would you talk about it? Write it down. What's the way you might phrase it or bring it up? What's enough to say without saying too much? Start with a little thought, a little writing, and then you'll be prepared. That, when you're dealing with an issue, is heavy and formative. As a scar, is a smarter way to approach it as opposed to ad-libbing it in the moment when you feel like it. All right. James from Barcelona. I'm going to sneak this question in. Sometimes I get a lot of questions. Sometimes I rant way too long, which means I'm going to follow up with some of your questions. James says, what's the best way to show your scars/ink? Are there cases where we should not show them? Yes, there are cases where we should not show them. Let me give you an example, James. When you are not yet comfortable, have you ever talked to someone about the fact that, hey, it's 2 years since your mom passed, I so miss her? If you've done that, you know what I know. You have to be ready to talk about something and maintain that control we all need, especially in a professional context. I really think you have to be in control and ready yourself before you are supposed to bring that out and talk to others. So don't do it if you're afraid of how they'll react, because your read of them is they can't take it, or you're not ready. If either of those two are even a little present, pull back, go for authenticity, no scars, and think about the right way to do that and under what conditions it will actually make more sense. That would be nice. I would give you one more bit of advice to answer that question and to wrap up the rant. Think about the people around you. There's probably 10 to 30 people you interact with professionally on a regular basis. If you want to gain comfort and skill, building rapport, building relationships that actually can be capable of doing great work because people trust each other, which is the foundation of everything interesting at work. Well, look at those 10, 20, 30 people and ask yourself, where are the 3 or 4 or 5? And when do I interact with them and under what conditions, so that I can maybe target them as a first best place to start trying this next level conversation. Those would be some good ideas to get you going. I hope that you have gotten an idea or two today that are useful to you. It's so great to see some old names and new names. Listen, if we're not connected on LinkedIn, we should be. Please reach out and connect. If your question did not get answered and you'd like my 10 cents, I'm happy to give it. Just send me a note on LinkedIn. And of course, if you've not done this, please go over to drdoit.com, sign up for the newsletter where you can find out about every upcoming trip I'm making, speech I'm giving, book I'm writing, anything like that will all be there, along with free tips and advice that I think you'll find maybe a little funny, hopefully a little useful. Do that for me and I'll owe you one. Until next time, be good to yourself. See ya. Take care.